The breach of trust. The galaxy had always followed a set of rules, unspoken yet sacred. Every race, every empire, and every faction knew the limits. One of those rules, the one that had kept the peace for centuries, was clear. You don't attack civilians. You don't break the most basic laws of war. But someone had, and humanity would not forgive them. The attack had been swift, ruthless, and above all, unexpected. Humanity's trust in the galactic order had been shattered in one brutal moment. It began with the sudden ambush of a civilian fleet of hospital ships. Earth's medical vessels, meant to heal and save lives, were gunned down without mercy. These were peaceful ships, carrying only doctors, nurses, and the sick. But the enemy, a ruthless alien force known for their disregard of human life, saw them as easy targets. At first, the galaxy thought nothing of it. It was just another skirmish. The enemy had been known to break the rules before, but this time, they had crossed a line no one should ever cross. Humanity wasn't just going to sit back. They couldn't. Not this time. As word spread across Earth, the response was immediate. The people weren't just angry. They were enraged. Families of the doctors, the nurses, the injured. It didn't matter who they were. What mattered was that an attack on humanity's most sacred ships would never be forgotten or forgiven. The call to arms echoed through every city, through every military base. Humanity would show no mercy. The world was ready to fight. In the United Nations Command Center, General Sarah Hayes stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy. The blue lights cast a cold glow on her face, but it was the fire in her eyes that burned brighter. "We will show them what happens when you break the rules," Sarah said, her voice cold and steady. "It's time to send a message to the galaxy, a message they'll never forget." Her words were echoed by the entire room. The Titan fleet, Earth's most advanced military force, had already begun its preparations. Ships, weapons, soldiers, all were set to take the battle to the stars. But this wouldn't be a simple military campaign. Earth had something more terrifying in mind, something that would change the course of history. The Titan fleet wasn't just strong, it was relentless. Each ship in the fleet was a battle-ready powerhouse. The crew was handpicked, trained for war at a level that no other empire in the galaxy had ever seen. The aliens had made a grave mistake, and now they would feel the full wrath of Earth's vengeance. Meanwhile, on the enemy side, the leaders of the alien force had no idea what was coming. They thought they had won, thought they could get away with their crime. But they didn't know Earth's capacity for wrath. They didn't know what it meant to provoke humanity to the point where they would break all the rules of war themselves. Sarah's gaze hardened as she watched the fleet's ships make their final adjustments. The entire Earth fleet, from the Titan flagship down to the smallest fighter, was now armed and ready. The time had come for Earth to teach the galaxy a lesson they would never forget. "We're not just going to retaliate," Sarah spoke quietly to her officers. "We're going to break them. We're going to make them fear us. No mercy." As Earth's fleet prepared to launch, the enemy still had no idea what awaited them. On their homeworld, the leaders laughed off humanity's call for retribution. They had underestimated humanity's ability to respond. They had broken the rules of war, thinking it would be easy. But now, they would learn the true meaning of regret. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a reckoning. Earth was no longer the passive member of the galactic community. No longer would humanity stand quietly while others broke the laws that protected the innocent. The attack on the hospital ships had turned into something far more dangerous, a war for survival. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Titan fleet was unlike anything the enemy had ever faced. It wasn't just the size or the power of the ships. It was the sheer determination of the humans manning them. Soldiers who had been born to fight. Officers who had lived through wars that made the galaxy's conflicts seem like games. Now, their fury had been unleashed. General Sarah Hayes stood before her officers, her face as stone-cold as ever. She wasn't just commanding the fleet. She was leading them into a fight for humanity's very survival. The attack on the hospital ships was more than just an act of violence. It was a declaration that humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer to be taken for granted. Earth would no longer be ignored. And this enemy, they would learn what it meant to provoke the wrath of a world that had endured so much. "Prepare to launch," Sarah commanded. Her voice echoed throughout the command center. And the crew moved with military precision. They had trained for this moment, but even they could feel the weight of what was about to unfold. The fleet moved into position, and the first wave of ships activated their weapons. The cold hum of energy shields flickered to life, and massive cannons powered up. The fleet was prepared for total destruction. Outside, in the vastness of space, Earth's ships began their journey to the enemy's homeworld. The silence of space was broken only by the rhythmic hum of the engines and the anticipation building in the hearts of the crew. They knew what was coming, but there was no hesitation. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. Humanity would never be a victim again. The enemy, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware. The attack had been swift, but humanity's response was going to be devastating. The enemy's homeworld was a distant star system, a fortress world protected by countless defenses. They had assumed that such a fortress would keep them safe, that no one could breach their walls. But they had made the fatal mistake of underestimating the one thing they couldn't predict: human will. As Earth's fleet made its way deeper into the enemy's space, they encountered resistance. The enemy's ships were massive, designed for sheer firepower. They had the advantage of numbers, but they had forgotten one thing. The humans aboard the Titan fleet weren't just soldiers. They were warriors, and warriors don't just fight. They fight with purpose, with heart, and with the knowledge that they are fighting for something bigger than themselves. "Target the capital ships first," Sarah ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. "We take down their command, and the rest will crumble." The first wave of fighters launched from the fleet, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness of space. With practiced precision, they darted toward the enemy's fleet, unleashing volleys of laser fire. Explosions rocked the enemy ships as their defenses struggled to keep up. But the humans were relentless. The Titan flagship loomed behind, its massive cannons locking onto the largest enemy ship. With a deafening roar, the ship fired, sending a massive blast of energy that tore through the enemy's hull. The impact was catastrophic, the explosion lighting up the starry sky like a supernova. The humans weren't just fighting. They were making a statement. "First ship down," Sarah said, her voice grim but filled with satisfaction. "Keep going. Show them what happens when you break the rules." The Titan fleet surged forward, cutting through the enemy's defenses with unyielding force. No mercy, no hesitation. Every human aboard the fleet was fueled by the same anger, the same desire for justice. This wasn't just a fight. It was a war for humanity's place in the stars. The enemy finally realized the gravity of the situation. Their ships scrambled to retreat, but it was too late. Earth's fleet was already upon them, a force of nature that nothing could stop. In the next few hours, the enemy would learn the hard way that humanity had no intention of being a victim ever again. Sarah stood in the command center, her hands gripping the console as explosions lit up the view screen. Her eyes were sharp, focused on the destruction unfolding before her. She didn't just want victory. She wanted a reckoning. And as Earth's fleet tore through the enemy ships, she could see the terror in their eyes. The war had only just begun. The message was clear: Earth would not be broken, and the galaxy would never forget the price of underestimating humanity. The enemy had made their choice, and now they were paying the price. The Titan fleet pressed forward with an unstoppable force, the might of Earth's military power echoing across the cosmos. Each ship in the fleet was a symbol of humanity's resilience. The call for retribution had been answered, and the galaxy would feel its weight. On the bridge of the Titan flagship, General Sarah Hayes observed the chaos unfolding on her view screen. The enemy ships, once so confident in their dominance, now scrambled in disarray. The explosion from their command ship still echoed in space. Fires raged across the wreckage of their fleet, and debris floated like a storm cloud in the blackness of space. It was a sight no one, not even the most seasoned of Earth's soldiers, had ever dreamed of seeing. "They thought they could attack us with impunity," Sarah muttered, her eyes narrowed with cold determination. "They'll learn the cost of underestimating us." The fleet's assault was far from over. The enemy's defenses, while formidable, were no match for the precise tactics and overwhelming force of Earth's military. Sarah's voice was steady, each command calculated and sharp. "Target the remaining command ships," she ordered. "We finish this now." The fleet responded as one. Every ship, every fighter, every soldier knew their role. The once feared alien ships, massive and powerful, were now no more than prey to the unrelenting fury of Earth's forces. With laser-like precision, the Titan fleet moved in to strike. The enemy tried to regroup, but they were scattered, broken, and unable to mount any significant resistance. On the battlefield, the humans did not hesitate. Fighters swarmed like a deadly swarm of bees, cutting through the enemy's defenses with ease. The larger ships, once the pinnacle of the enemy's military strength, now stood vulnerable in the face of the humans' overwhelming strategy. The humans had fought wars before, real wars, brutal wars. The galaxy was now learning that humanity's experience was far beyond anything the enemy had imagined. "Enemy capital ship down," reported one of the officers from the communications panel, the relief in his voice audible. But Sarah wasn't ready to let up. There was still work to be done. There was still more to prove. "Keep pushing," she ordered. "We don't stop until they're all gone." Meanwhile, the enemy's remaining fleet commanders were scrambling for answers. The loss of their capital ships had thrown their entire strategy into chaos. They had never expected Earth's response to be so swift, so brutal. They had thought they could attack the vulnerable hospital ships and walk away unscathed. Now they were realizing their mistake all too late. They had awoken something that would never forgive them. Desperation began to set in among the enemy's ranks. Ships tried to retreat, but they couldn't outrun the human fleet. The Titan fleet was everywhere, surrounding them, closing in with each passing second. It was a nightmare they couldn't escape. "General, we've located their last command ship," one of the officers reported. "It's attempting to flee toward the outer rim." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Cut them off. Prepare the warheads." As the Titan flagship closed in on the enemy's last hope, Sarah's mind raced. Every decision now counted. Earth had been pushed to the brink, and the consequences of this battle would ripple across the galaxy. If they failed, it wouldn't just be a loss for Earth, it would be the beginning of humanity's undoing. But if they succeeded, the message would be clear to the entire galaxy. Humanity would not be a punching bag. Humanity would not be overlooked. Humanity was now a force to be reckoned with. The Titan fleet surged forward, preparing for the final strike. Sarah watched as the target grew closer. The enemy ship, already heavily damaged, tried to make a last-ditch effort to escape, but it was no use. Earth's fleet was too fast, too determined, and too strong. "Lock on," Sarah ordered. The flagship's massive cannons powered up, their barrels glowing with deadly energy. With a roar, the Titan flagship unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy blasts, targeting the enemy ship's vulnerable areas. The enemy's defenses, already weakened, couldn't hold. Explosions erupted across the alien ship as the warheads found their mark. The once feared vessel shattered, crumpling under the weight of Earth's vengeance. "Target destroyed," the officer reported. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Sarah's expression remained unchanged. She was focused, every fiber of her being tuned to the mission. This wasn't a victory yet. It was just one step in a much larger war. And Earth wasn't finished yet. This was only the beginning. "Status report," Sarah asked, her voice calm but commanding. "We've taken down their last command ship, General," came the reply. "The enemy fleet is in full retreat." Sarah nodded. "Good, but don't let them escape. We finish this today. The Titan fleet continued its relentless advance, each ship carrying humanity's fury, every cannon a message to the galaxy. The enemy had broken the rules of war, and now Earth was showing them no mercy. This was humanity's reckoning, and it was far from over. The battle was far from over. Even though the enemy's fleet was in disarray, scattered across the void of space, they still had one final card to play. The last remaining ships, battered and broken, had no chance of winning, but they were determined to die fighting. Earth's fleet moved in for the final assault, but there was something in the air, a sense that something bigger was about to happen. General Sarah Hayes stood on the bridge of the Titan flagship, her eyes glued to the view screen. She could see the enemy ships, dilapidated and weak, still attempting to put up a fight. They were trying to regroup, trying to make one last stand, but there was no hope. Humanity's wrath had already been unleashed. General, their command ship is attempting to activate its self-destruct protocol. An officer reported, his voice tense. They're planning to take us all down with them. Sarah's jaw clenched, and she didn't hesitate. Deactivate it. Now. The officer worked quickly, tapping into the enemy ship's systems through Earth's advanced technology. The threat was serious. If that ship exploded, it could destroy a large portion of Earth's fleet. The tension in the air was thick. The officer's fingers flew across the console, racing against the clock. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the countdown timer appeared on the screen. 30 seconds, the officer reported, his voice tight. Sarah's gaze hardened. We won't let them get away with this. With quick precision, the officer managed to hack into the command ship's self-destruct sequence, halting the countdown just in time. The ship's threat was neutralized, but the danger was far from over. The remaining enemy ships, though weakened, continued to resist. We've disabled their self-destruct, the officer confirmed, but they're still firing back. Sarah turned to the rest of her crew. We're not stopping until every last one of them is gone. Prepare for final strike. No mercy. Earth's fleet didn't hesitate. Every ship, every soldier knew what had to be done. There were no more negotiations, no more mercy. The enemy had crossed a line, and there would be no forgiveness. The Titan fleet moved forward with a deadly unified force, aiming to finish the battle once and for all. As Earth's ships closed in on the remaining enemy vessels, the scene was chaotic. The enemy ships fired their last rounds, but they were too slow, too disorganized. The Titan fleet effortlessly dodged their shots, returning fire with precise, overwhelming force. One by one, the remaining ships began to fall, their shields collapsing under the barrage of humanity's firepower. But it wasn't just the weapons that made Earth's fleet unstoppable. It was their determination. The human soldiers aboard every ship fought with a passion, a drive, and a vengeance that no enemy could match. Each person aboard the Titan flagship knew what this battle meant. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a message. Humanity was sending a clear signal to the galaxy. Never again. One by one, the enemy ships were destroyed. The vast expanse of space, once filled with enemy vessels, was now silent. But Sarah's mind was still sharp. She knew the cost of underestimating humanity, but she also knew that this victory wasn't just about revenge. It was a warning to anyone who would dare to challenge Earth again. Enemy fleet neutralized, General. An officer reported, his voice filled with a mix of relief and awe. But Sarah wasn't done yet. Continue scanning. If there's even one ship left, we don't stop until it's gone. Her eyes remained fixed on the view screen, watching as the stars twinkled peacefully in the distance. Earth's vengeance had been swift, but she knew this was just one battle in a much larger war. The galaxy had seen humanity's wrath, but the fight for Earth's future was far from over. Sir, the officer called, his voice filled with urgency. We've detected something unusual. Another fleet. It's coming from the far side of the galaxy. It's massive. The officer's words hit like a hammer. Earth had already been attacked. Was the galaxy really so bold as to send yet another fleet to destroy them? Hadn't they learned their lesson? Sarah turned sharply, her face stoic. Prepare the fleet. No one gets to threaten Earth again. The battle may have been won, but a much greater challenge was coming. And this time, Earth wouldn't just be defending. Earth would be taking the fight to them. The silence of space was broken only by the hum of engines and the faint chatter of the crew. General Sarah Hayes stood in the war room aboard the Titan flagship, her expression grim as she stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. The enemy fleet had been destroyed, but a new threat was emerging. It was bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than anything humanity had faced before. Another fleet, General, an officer reported, his voice filled with dread. This one is far larger than the last. They've already crossed the outer rim of the galaxy and are heading straight for Earth. The news hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. They had barely recovered from the last assault, and now they were facing an even greater enemy. This time, there would be no more waiting. Earth had been attacked once, but it wouldn't happen again. How much time do we have? Sarah asked, her voice steady, despite the rising panic she felt inside. The officer's eyes flicked to the map, calculating the incoming fleet's trajectory. Approximately 24 hours, General. If they maintain their current speed, they'll be in Earth's orbit by then. A sense of urgency filled the room. Earth's fleet had grown strong after the first battle, but it wasn't ready for a full-scale invasion, not like the one that was coming now. Sarah knew that Earth needed reinforcements, immediately, but there was no time to wait for help from other colonies or distant outposts. We'll face them head-on, Sarah said, her tone unyielding. We won't give them a chance to set foot on Earth. Prepare every ship. We need to be ready for anything. The officers nodded and scrambled to send out orders. Earth's fleet was now a well-oiled machine, but they had only one chance to stop this new threat before it reached their home. The entire crew of the Titan flagship was already on high alert, preparing for the war that was coming to their doorstep. Sarah walked out of the war room and made her way to the bridge. She could feel the tension in the air, as if the entire fleet was holding its breath, waiting for the storm to hit. As she stepped onto the bridge, she was met by the stern faces of her crew. They all knew the stakes, and they were ready to fight. Captain, Sarah said to the officer in charge of the Titan flagship, "Status report." "We're ready, General," the captain replied, his voice calm but filled with resolve. "Our weapons are fully charged, and our defenses are at full strength. We're just waiting for the signal to engage." Sarah nodded. She had always trusted her crew, but this battle would test them all in ways they couldn't predict. This new enemy was unlike anything Earth had faced before, more advanced, more relentless. But she wasn't about to let them destroy everything she and her people had worked for. "Get all ships in formation. We engage them the moment they enter Earth's orbit," Sarah ordered, "and make sure they know who they're dealing with." The crew worked quickly, their movements swift and practiced. The fleet of ships that had once been Earth's last line of defense was now a force to be reckoned with. Each ship was equipped with powerful weapons and shields, designed to take on any enemy that dared challenge humanity. But even with their strength, Sarah knew they were vastly outnumbered. The enemy fleet, though unknown, had one thing in common with their predecessors. They underestimated Earth. They had no idea what Earth was capable of when pushed to the edge. Humanity had endured so much already. It had been tested. But now, Sarah knew, it was time to show the galaxy that Earth wasn't a place to be ignored or crushed. It was a place where warriors were made, where courage and determination could change the course of history. As the hours ticked down, the Titan flagship and its fleet grew more and more tense. The countdown to the enemy's arrival was now imminent. Sarah couldn't afford to think of failure. She couldn't afford to think of defeat. Earth had survived against all odds before, and now was no different. The holographic map flickered on the bridge, the incoming fleet now closer than ever. The time for talk was over. This was the moment when Earth's warriors would make their stand. As Sarah looked out over the fleet, she saw the resolve in her crew's eyes. Every single one of them was ready to lay their lives down for Earth. She had no doubt they would fight to the last breath, if necessary. "We fight, or we die," Sarah muttered to herself. She turned to face the captain, her eyes blazing with determination. "Prepare to engage. Let's show them that attacking Earth was their biggest mistake." The moment had arrived. The storm was about to break, and Earth was ready to face it head-on. The countdown had finally reached 0. The vast expanse of space stretched out before Earth's fleet, dark and silent, as the enemy approached. The tension was palpable across every ship, every station, every soldier. Sarah Hayes stood at the heart of the Titan flagship, watching the incoming enemy fleet on the massive holographic display before her. The moment of truth had arrived. "All ships, prepare for battle," Sarah ordered, her voice firm. She could feel her heartbeat quicken, but she pushed the nerves aside. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, the moment that would define Earth's future in the galaxy. The enemy fleet was enormous. It had advanced weaponry, heavily armored ships, and an overwhelming number of vessels that could crush any defense. Sarah didn't need to hear any more reports to know that Earth was vastly outmatched. But there was one thing the enemy didn't have: Earth's unbreakable spirit. "General Hayes, their lead ship is entering firing range," the captain shouted from across the bridge. "Open fire," Sarah commanded, her voice unwavering. The Titan flagship and its fleet opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts and missiles at the enemy's advancing ships. The space around them lit up with the intensity of the battle. For a moment, Sarah could hear the hum of the ship's weapon systems working overtime, each blast striking the enemy fleet with precision. She could feel the heat of the weapon's energy radiating through the floor beneath her feet. But the enemy ships didn't falter. They were advanced, faster, tougher, and more agile than anything Earth had ever seen. They retaliated swiftly, firing back with devastating energy beams that tore through space. Earth's ships shook under the intense fire, but they held their ground. Their shields absorbed the attacks, and Sarah's fleet fought back with everything they had. The first wave of enemy ships began to break apart under Earth's relentless fire, but the enemy wasn't backing down. They pressed forward, moving in tight formations to minimize damage. Every move they made was calculated, but Earth's fleet was equally determined, matching their movements with expert precision. "General, they're attempting a pincer maneuver," the communications officer reported. "They're trying to flank us on both sides." Sarah's mind raced as she quickly analyzed their tactics. This wasn't just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of wits. The enemy had come prepared, but so had Earth. "All ships, execute defensive formation Delta," Sarah ordered. "Focus fire on their lead vessels. We take down their command ships first." The fleet responded immediately, shifting into formation and creating a powerful wall of firepower that pushed back the enemy's flanking attack. Earth's ships worked together as one, coordinating their attacks and dodging the enemy's retaliatory fire. It was clear that the enemy hadn't expected Earth's fleet to be this organized, this resilient. They had thought humanity was weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Despite their advanced technology, the enemy was facing something they hadn't anticipated: a human force that was willing to fight for their home, no matter the odds. Earth's fleet was strong, not because they had the best weapons, but because they had something the enemy lacked: heart. The battle raged on, with explosions lighting up the vast expanse of space. The enemy ships began to stagger as they took heavy damage from Earth's relentless fire. But they kept pushing forward, seemingly with no concern for the casualties they were suffering. They were fighting a battle of conquest, determined to show their power, to break Earth's spirit. Sarah knew that if they didn't act quickly, the enemy would regroup and make a second attempt. They couldn't afford to let that happen. "All ships, target their engine cores. Disable their fleet before they can retreat," Sarah ordered. Her fleet responded immediately, focusing their fire on the vulnerable engine cores of the enemy vessels. The strategy worked. Several of the lead ships began to falter, their engines sputtering as they tried to keep moving. The enemy's momentum slowed, and the ships started to scatter in disarray. "General, we've damaged their lead ship," the captain reported. "They're retreating." But Sarah knew better than to celebrate just yet. The retreat might be temporary. The enemy was too well equipped, and there was always the chance they had a backup plan. "Stay alert," Sarah warned. "This isn't over. They're regrouping, and we need to be ready for whatever they throw at us next." The moment of relief was short-lived as the enemy fleet pulled back to reorganize. Their ships moved into new formations, preparing for another strike. Earth's fleet was battered but unbroken. Sarah's crew worked tirelessly, quickly repairing shields and weapons, preparing for the inevitable next wave. As Sarah gazed at the enemy fleet, now retreating but still formidable, she knew that the battle was far from over. Earth had struck a powerful blow, but the war was still unfolding. The enemy was relentless, and they would not give up easily. But Earth had proven one thing today: no one would break their will. As the stars twinkled around them, and the battle continued, Sarah stood firm at the helm of the Titan flagship, knowing that her fleet had just made its mark on the galaxy, and they wouldn't stop until Earth's enemies knew that attacking humanity came at a cost. No matter how big or advanced their fleet was, Earth would never back down. The battle was far from over, but Sarah Hayes felt a sense of determination growing within her. The enemy fleet had retreated, but their defeat was not yet certain. Earth's warships had proven their strength, but they were still in enemy territory, with more danger lurking in the vastness of space. Sarah knew the true test was yet to come. "General, their forces are regrouping," the communications officer announced. "They're preparing for another wave. It looks like they're calling reinforcements from the outer sectors." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. The enemy's tactics were becoming clearer now, and they were only getting more desperate. They couldn't afford another mistake. She knew that if they didn't end this soon, the enemy would bring in even more ships, and Earth's fleet would be overwhelmed. "Prepare for another offensive," Sarah commanded. "We don't give them a chance to breathe. We hit them hard and fast." The crew aboard the Titan flagship immediately went to work. Earth's warships powered up their weapons, readying themselves for the next onslaught. The Titan itself was a symbol of humanity's strength, its hull scarred from battle, but its resolve as solid as ever. Earth's fleet had taken a beating, but it was still standing tall, and so was its commander. "General, we've got a new signal coming in from Earth," the captain said, breaking the tense silence. "It's a message from the Council." Sarah's heart raced as she received the message, her mind already wondering what it contained. The stakes were high, and Earth's leadership had a pivotal role to play in the upcoming moments. She opened the transmission, and the face of President Klein appeared on the screen. "General Hayes," the president's voice was calm but resolute, "you and your fleet have done humanity proud. We will not let this attack go unanswered. Earth's vengeance is coming." The words hit Sarah like a shockwave. Earth's vengeance. The phrase wasn't just a statement, it was a promise. She could feel the weight of it pressing down on her, knowing that Earth's entire future rested on the outcome of this battle. They weren't just defending their home anymore, they were making a statement to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer weak, no longer a target. They would fight for their survival, and they would take the fight to anyone who dared to attack them. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned back to her crew. "Get ready. This is it. We'll give them a taste of Earth's vengeance." The enemy fleet was approaching, but this time, they were not met with fear. Earth's warships were ready, their weapons primed. The battle that had begun as an attack on a hospital ship had transformed into a war that would shape the galaxy forever. The enemy might have thought they could strike without consequence, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. "Enemy ships in range," the tactical officer reported. "Weapons online, shields at full power." Sarah's grip tightened around the control console as she issued her orders. All ships, engage on my mark. Focus fire on their command vessel first. We end this here. The Titan flagship surged forward, its engines roaring as the fleet followed close behind. Earth's ships were now a united force, each vessel working in perfect harmony. There was no room for hesitation, no time for second-guessing. They had learned from the previous battle, and they were ready. The enemy ships opened fire first, unleashing a hail of energy blasts and missiles. But Earth's fleet was prepared. The Titan flagship swiftly dodged the incoming fire, and the other ships followed its lead, evading the enemy's shots with calculated precision. Then, with deadly force, Earth's fleet struck back, sending waves of powerful blasts toward the enemy. The enemy's front lines buckled under the intensity of the attack, their ships crumbling one by one. They had underestimated Earth's military, believing their technology and numbers could overwhelm humanity. But now they saw the truth. Earth's will to fight, its determination to survive, was stronger than any weapon the enemy could throw at them. As the enemy's forces began to scatter, Earth's fleet did not relent. The Titan led the charge, striking at the heart of the enemy's command vessel. With a final, earth-shattering explosion, the lead enemy ship was obliterated. The rest of the fleet quickly followed suit, breaking apart under the relentless barrage of fire from Earth's ships. "Enemy fleet retreating," the captain exclaimed. "We've won." The bridge erupted in cheers as the crew realized what they had accomplished. They had defeated an overwhelming enemy force, and now the galaxy knew that Earth was not a target to be taken lightly. Sarah stood at the helm of the Titan flagship, her eyes locked on the debris of the destroyed enemy fleet. The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. Earth had proven its strength, but Sarah knew that the galaxy would now be watching. There would be more challenges ahead, more enemies who would test Earth's resolve. But no matter what came next, one thing was certain. Earth had sent a clear message to the galaxy. They had broken the rules of war. And now, Earth would show no mercy. They would protect their home, their people, and their future. And they would fight to the very end, with the same courage and strength that had carried them through this victory.